You are listening to the Keep the Weight Off podcast with Dr. Angela, episode number 77.
Welcome to the Keep the Weight Off podcast, where we bust all the dieting myths and discover not just how to lose weight, but more importantly, how to keep it off. We go way beyond the food, and we use science and psychology to give you strategies that work. And now your host, Dr. Angela Zechmann.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to the podcast this week. Hey Marchelle, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. I have my kitty here, so if you hear a meow, that's what that is. Just so you know.
She's always welcome on the podcast. She's adorable.
She is. She loves, I do my podcast in my closet, and she loves it in here. So
She gets playtime.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Well, today I want to get right into it because we're going to talk about thinking. Like, what are we thinking? What are the sentences that are going through our brains? Okay. And
oh my goodness.
I know. Well, I have to say that recently I've been doing a lot of deep inner work, and it's been really profound for me because I've been discovering some thought patterns going on in my own brain that I didn't even know existed. And so that's kind of what inspired me to talk about this, because I think this is probably going on for a lot of us. So one of the things that I really enjoy about the work that we're doing here on this podcast is that it's so versatile. So like one week we're talking about data and science. Like remember a couple of weeks ago, we talked about body composition testing, and we've talked about insulin resistance, and we've talked about lots of scientific stuff. And then the next week we're talking about psychology, and sometimes even spiritual concepts come up. And so I like to kind of go back and forth between the science and the psycho-spiritual evolution that is taking place within us as we are moving along in this process of achieving our healthy, vibrant bodies, right? So this one is going to be a little bit more on the psychology realm. And I believe that one of the most important things that you can do as part of your weight loss journey is to work at getting to know yourself better. Like really know yourself. So come to understand your own brain a lot better. Come to know what your thought patterns are like. Really assess what's going on in these minds of ours, and then make rational decisions about what thoughts are helpful that we want to keep and what thoughts might actually be toxic that may need to be released. I may have mentioned this before, but it's a little bit like cleaning out your closet. So it's important to empty it out completely and get everything out of there, even the cobwebs in the corners, right? So one year, I don't know if you've ever heard of this, Marchelle, I did that closet clear out that was recommended by Marie Kondo. She calls it the KonMari method. Have you ever heard of this?
No, but it sounds interesting.
So here's what she has you do. She has you take everything out of all of your closets and all of your drawers and throw it all out on the floor. That's what I did. It was actually kind of fun, really. So I actually think I took pictures to prove that I did this too. So you take everything that's in your closets, everything that's in your drawers, you go to the laundry room, you get all your clothes, you go to all of the closets all over your house, you go find everything, and you throw it all in a pile. And then you pick each item up one by one, and you hold it, and you ask yourself if it brings you joy. You have to hold it and feel its energy. And if it brings you joy, it goes back into your closet or your drawer or wherever you got it from. If it doesn't bring you joy, you release it, either to the trash or to the Goodwill, but it doesn't get to live in your closet anymore.
I think I've heard of this. This is pretty cool.
Yeah, it is. Now, once you finish this process, and I remember it took a few days for me, what you're left with is only clothes and hats and belts and jewelry that brings you joy. It's absolutely amazing how light you feel when you look in your closet or your drawers and everything that's in there brings you joy. And of course, it's all well organized too. So this is what I've been doing lately with my thoughts. I've been writing my thoughts down. This is the same thing as taking your clothes and putting them in a pile on the floor. You have to write your thoughts down so that you can take an objective look at them. If you just keep letting them spin around in your head, then that's what happens. They just keep spinning and you keep identifying with them. But if you write these thoughts down, you just kind of like do a brain dump in the same way that I dumped all the stuff in my closet out on the floor, you can be more objective about these thoughts. You can see that there's a difference between you and your thoughts. So you don't really identify with them so much. You see them as optional. Then you can pick the thoughts up one by one and ask yourself, is this thought worth keeping? Does this thought bring me joy? Or is it all muddled up with resistance and negative energy? So a lot of us have a lot of thoughts all day long, thoughts about how we should be doing better. We're not working hard enough, or thoughts that life is overwhelming and we can't keep up, or thoughts like, I'm always going to be struggling with my weight, or I can't cook, or I hate vegetables. These are just simple thoughts that do not bring joy, right? They just bring resistance. So these are thoughts that we think are true, but they're really only true because we've made them true, because we've thought them so much. If I have a thought that I can't cook, and then I try to cook something and I burn it, then I say, see, I told you I can't cook, right? But the thought that I can't cook is actually not a thought that brings joy, is it? It's a thought that can make you feel defeated. So it might be a thought that you want to release. Because what if you actually can cook? What if all cooks burn stuff once in a while? And we all burn a lot in the beginning when we're first learning. It's kind of like a baby learning how to walk. They don't give up just because they fall down a few times, right? It takes falling down and getting up and falling down and getting up in order to develop the strength and the balance to actually walk. So what if it takes burning a few meals before you develop the knowledge and the skills to make a great meal? So that's just one example. But I want all of us to recognize just how important our day-to-day thoughts are. We have 60,000 thoughts every day. It's important to understand what these thoughts are and what's going on in this brain of ours. This is the way we have much more conscious control over our lives. Now, is this making sense to you, Marchelle?
This is such cool information. I love this.
Okay, good. Do you have any questions?
No, but I was just thinking, this is kind of why I think that you and I have been having some of the conversations we've been having at work, because you've been like combating my negative thoughts in the last week, like a little more than usual. So it's all making sense now.
Because I've been going through this process on my own,
right?
And I'm preaching. When I learn something, I preach it to everybody around me. So poor Marchelle gets the brunt of all of it.
I know. I love it though, but no, because it's too hard, or I'm not really good at that. And you've just been like going hard on me. And so now, like I said, now this is all making sense. Why we've had the last week.
That's funny. Well, here's something else that I discovered. Sometimes we can use our own life experiences to discover thoughts that are toxic that we didn't even realize we were thinking. So, for example, I noticed recently in my dating life, I'm dating, right? So I went out with this man and we went on a hike, and it was our first date. And as soon as we said hi and started walking, he went into an immediate litany about how awful his ex-wife was. Can you imagine?
Oh, no.
He was like, she was a workaholic. She used to work 14-hour days. She was so angry when she came home. She got the 5,000 square foot view house, and on and on and on it went. I mean, this guy was just so full of toxic resentment that I was completely turned off. And my immediate thought was to run for the hills. And most people would do that without thinking twice about it. But what I understand is that we attract people that are similar to us. This is how the universe works. Like attracts like. Birds of a feather flock together and all that stuff. You've heard of that, right?
Yes.
So I knew that I had something going on that needed to be looked at, because otherwise I would never have run into this man. We would never have matched up. And I don't mean match on match. I mean matched up. The universe would never have matched us up. So I had to do some thought excavation. It's like pulling all the clothes out of my closet, I was looking for thoughts that create resentment because I knew that I was a match to this man somehow. And so what I asked myself was, am I feeling any resentment, perhaps having thoughts that were toxic of my own? Could I be denying my true thoughts anywhere? And I discovered a few resentful thoughts. And once I became aware of them, I realized there weren't really just a few resentful thoughts. There were a whole litany of resentful thoughts. And they were really making an impact on my day-to-day thought patterns. So that was very interesting. And that was a huge realization for me. I don't want to be a resentful person. But here I was with all these thoughts floating around in the back of my mind all the time that created this sort of unconscious resentment. What an eye-opener that was for me. Now, notice I'm not beating myself up about it, right? Can you hear that, Marchelle? It was
exactly. Yep.
It was just pure curiosity and self-compassion. There was no beating myself up. So I'm much more aware now because I took these thoughts and I wrote them down. So now I see that they're separate from me. They still come up all the time, but because I did the work and I took the time to actually write these thoughts down, I don't identify with them anymore. I don't have to give them any more airtime. Now I know better, right? I don't let them get a foothold. I just tell myself, oh yeah, there that thought is. I won't give it any more of my attention. I'll be moving on now. I won't give that train of thought any more of my attention. Is that making sense?
Yeah, could I ask you a question about this though? Okay, so obviously you're not going to be able to carry around a journal, 24 hours a day and write everything down as you're thinking it. So could you tell me what exactly does that look like? Like when are you writing all these thoughts down? Are you saving them all up until later and you'll have a sit and have a session, or how do you do this?
I do some journaling in the morning. So after I had that date, the very next day, I started thinking, I really didn't think about it all that much that night. And I probably didn't even think about it all that much the next day because I was super busy with other stuff. But then I had a day where I had a couple of hours in the morning and I didn't have any place I had to be. And so I just started writing because I was like, that was just the weirdest situation. Like, how do I make sense of this situation? And I just started writing down thoughts and I was like, okay, like attracts like. I get this. Where am I feeling resentment? And when I looked, I found it. And so then I wrote the resentful thoughts down. So then when you write them down and you see them as separate from you, it's a powerful thing. Like you do not have to identify with them anymore. You see them as separate from you. And then it's optional whether you want to keep thinking them or not. That's the beauty of this. It's really profound. Yeah.
No, it really is.
It really is.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you have to be willing to sit down with yourself all alone. Mm-hmm. You have to be willing to get a paper and a pen or a computer. And you have to be willing to take the time. Okay. So for our podcast listeners, you can do this. You can do thought excavations. You can spend some time writing down thoughts each morning, just whatever comes up. I like to just put down one thought at a time on a line. So if I'm typing them out, I have one thought and then I hit the return and then I go to the next thought and I hit the return and I go to the next thought. Okay. I don't just do a whole bunch of thoughts all in one paragraph. That's too much. Okay. So I just put one thought down at a time and I've been able to discover the thoughts that feel toxic to me and the thoughts that bring me joy. In this way, I'm better able to make more conscious choices about what thoughts I want to be thinking. Right? Is that making sense?
It totally makes sense. I love this.
Yeah. So I think that for all of us, if we just start paying more attention to what we're thinking, I would encourage you to do that. And I would encourage you to start choosing your thoughts more deliberately because your thoughts create your reality. Okay. So if you have thoughts that say, I can't cook, then you're not going to be able to cook and you're not going to have a hard time on your weight loss journey because you have to cook most of your food if you want to lose weight and keep it off. You cannot be relying on the food industry to do your cooking for you. That or a family member who knows how to cook well. So that's one thing. If you have a thought that weight loss is hard, then it's going to be hard and you're going to make it hard because you're going to find all the ways that it's hard. You're not going to see all the ways that it can be easy. So if you have a thought that I just can't lose weight, then you're going to get all discouraged and you're going to go eat and you won't be able to lose weight. So we make our thoughts true. So it's very important to start doing these thought excavations and become very aware of what it is that you're thinking. And one of the best ways to do this is anytime you're feeling a negative emotion and you want to go for the chips or the candy or the ice cream or whatever it is, instead of doing that, just go sit down and write down what you're thinking, write down what you're feeling. And then you can start doing your own thought excavations, because I guarantee you that the reason that you want to go for the chips or the ice cream or whatever it might be, or the cookies or the cupcakes or whatever it might be, the reason is because there's some sort of thought that's creating a negative emotion for you. If you can learn to excavate what the thought is, you're going to have much more success on your weight loss journey. Okay? Make sense?
Yeah, this is awesome. I could see myself like it being sort of messy in the beginning, and it's going to take practice. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because, right now I'm just even thinking, okay, so when do I do this? And what do I write down? And then I could see myself just writing down like 1,000 random things, not really even knowing what to make of it. But
doesn't matter.
This is great. It's just it just takes some practice.
All right, everyone, let's start paying more attention to what we're thinking, and let's start choosing our thoughts more deliberately. If you want help with this, we do all of this work all the time in Empowered Weight Loss. So just go to journeybeyondweightloss.com to sign up, and we will see you on the inside. Take care, everyone. We'll see you next week. Bye.
All right. Goodbye, everybody.
Hey, if you really want to lose weight and keep it off for good, your next step is to sign up for Dr. Angela's free weight loss course, where you're going to learn everything you need to get started on your weight loss journey the right way. Just head over to journeybeyondweightloss.com/free course to sign up. Also, it would be awesome if you could take a few moments and write a review on iTunes. Thanks, and we'll see you in Journey Beyond Weight Loss.